Hello, hello. My name is Jesse, and I am a avid Games Workshop player. I've actually uploaded a few videos about Warhammer 40k, but I actually wanted to. I do have an Age of Sigmar army, as you can see, wrong way. I have my pictures here of my Seraphon collection. I've just noticed on YouTube there hasn't been a lot of updated Seraphon discussion, so I thought I'd throw that in there. If you're wondering why my Seraphon are painted the way they are, I was not going to start an Age of Sigmar army. I always loved the Seraphon, the Lizardmen from Warhammer Fantasy. I was about to join, but then the end time started happening, so I just decided, okay, I'll wait until everything kind of settles down. So Age of Sigmar started. There was no points or anything, so it seemed just like an absolute royal mess. So I didn't start. But then second edition came out, and points were being added. Well, second edition wasn't quite out yet. I was there for a couple months beforehand, so I've played for what does that mean now? Like a year and a half now. But I was reading the Seraphon book. I decided just to buy the Seraphon book and take a look and read the lore. And I read the lore that was like, oh yeah, the Slan left the old world with the lizard men. They've been drifting in space for God knows how long, and everyone else is dead but the Slan. And so when the Slan brings back his loyal troops, there's a lot of theories on what they are. Are they demons from the animals of the mortal realms? Are they all these other things? But I gravitated towards that the Slan is regenerating his troops from his memories. And because we kind of know their old lore, so they used to be real things and now they're not. So I think the Slan generates them from his memories. That's what I've decided to go with. And I was reading that, and I initially had the question of, what if a Slan was colorblind? So here's the result. The everything around him is real and colorful. He himself is real and colorful, but all his imaginary friends are black and white because that's how he remembers them. So, um, yeah, some people might get mad at me because it's like, oh, they're such beautiful models and you can paint them in such beautiful ways. Why would you do that? But I've got a couple other Seraphon that play at my store, like two others, and theirs are very colorful. So I like to stand out. I like to have armies that stand out quite a bit, and I just get a good laugh from people that see this. And then I'm the guy with the colorblind Slan. Everyone knows at my store the lore of my army. They're like, yeah, his Slan's colorblind. So you know what? It's a mission accomplished in my opinion. But now with that backstory out of the way. Let's talk about the Seraphon. The potential for getting a new book is actually pretty high right now because the Flesh Eater Courts just came out. I hope. I kind of hope and I don't hope at the same time that we get a new book soon because on one hand, with the hope side, honestly, there's no point. Don't buy the actual physical book. If you're thinking of starting an army, don't buy the physical book. Just download the PDFs online because there have been so many erratas and so many changes that you might as well just not buy the book. It's a pretty book. If you want to read the lore, go right ahead. But if you're looking to play the game, you don't need it. You don't need the book at all. You do need the General's Handbook. You must have that because that's where the meat and bones of a lot of our points are. And you need your erratas because, like I said, there's been so many changes since one of our books, one of the oldest. So on one hand, I hope to get a book. That way I don't have to lug around a library and all those other sheets to make sure I'm playing everything right. But then on the other hand, I don't want to get completely destroyed because there's a lot of cool combos and things that I absolutely love. And from the sounds of things from the Flesh Eater Courts, they lost a little bit of their cool special rules. I mean, when I look at our battle tomes, excuse me, not battle tomes. Oh darn it! The big groups they use the battalions. There we go. And when some of them have two or even three special rules in them, and then I look at the Flesh Eater Courts, and all of them only have one, I'm like, ooh. So, anyways. So while the pictures are going by, I'm just going to talk about the Slan in general and what or not Slan. Kind of a bit of a spoiler for what's to come, but the Seraphon in general. So to start things off, let's talk about our army rules. we probably have some of the best army rules in the game because it allows us to be mobile and play the mission however we want. Because we are indeed the masters of order and the lords of space and time, and we can summon things. So, masters of order, that's our slan wizards, be able to dispel from anywhere, unbind. You got to be careful with those words because there's mean two different things. They can unbind from anywhere instead of 30 inches, which is awesome. And if they cast on a 10 plus, you add, you add 6 inches to your spell range. Again, pretty good. But the Lords of Space and Time is where it's really at. You can select a hero unit on. You roll a dice on a 1 or a 2. Sadly, cannot move or charge. But if you roll a 3 or 4, you can teleport up and deploy anywhere 9 inches away from the enemy. Counts as the move. If you roll 5 or 6, you can go 9 inches away and move. Oh my goodness. So good. So good. Lets you get to whatever objectives you want. Lets you redeploy how you want. There's a warlord trait that lets you do this twice. It cannot be understated how good this is. And then we have Celestial Conjuration, which is the summoning, where aside from a Slan and Lord Croak, you can summon anything else. Anything else in the army you need or want, you can summon it. It takes a few turns to do that. We'll talk about the mechanics of that in a moment, but it's really good to do that. So you need a Slan General to do this. For every spell, and they know 3, you can swap out a spell for 3 summoning points. So if you swap out all their spells, it's 9. If you have an Astrolith Bear, it's D3 more. Since you're Slan General, it's 1 more. So if you swap out everything, you can get 10 Celestial points plus D3 a turn. You spend them during your end of your movement phase. So you generate them during the hero phase. You spend them at the end of the movement phase. This was something I did not read close enough at the start, so I was messing this up. Because you don't want to move you move your summon units afterwards. And they can be 12 inches away from a Slan or an Astrolith Bear and 9 inches from an enemy. I can't tell you the number of games I've just won purely from summoning things. I had a game against a Skaven player. I ended up summoning a Source Old Blood on Carnosaur 3 times. It was in the army list, got killed eventually. Summoned it back, got killed. Summoned it back, got killed. Summoned it back. And at that point, it was just a meme. Like, yeah, I could have summoned a Bastillon or something else, but it was just hilarious. And he's still mad at me about that, by the way. He'd come up and be like, that daggum old blood, that wouldn't die. It was hilarious. It's a great game. But it can show you how just annoying summoning can be. But one thing you might have noticed with a lot of those rules, another thing I kind of hope for, kind of don't, I'm just not sure how GW would handle this, is that if you don't bring a Slan as your general, you're literally losing out on half of the army rules. Basically. Not to mention his own rules that affect the whole army on the battlefield, which is kind of sad, where one model, whether you have them or not, can just completely just get rid of half the rules that you play with. Without a Slan General, you're not really summoning. You could summon a little bit with an Astrolith Bear, but nowhere near what a Slan can do. And then you don't have unlimited unbind range. There's a rule on his roll scroll that lets you do buffs all over the table that you don't have. So it's just, if there's a new book, it's one thing I would like to see mitigated a little bit, where it's just, dare I say, idiotic not to bring a Slan General. You could maybe get by with a different general, but honestly, if you're going to play a tournament, no, you bring a Slan General. There's no way around that. None. Which is something I'd like to see change. I'll talk about, the general traits and stuff at a different time. I'd like to hit the battalions, but I want to talk about units. So first off, this first unit is the Slan Star Master. his is actually pretty straightforward from the book still. His hasn't been updated a whole lot, but another part of the rules that you would lose out without a Star Master is Celestial. Wait, really? Hold on. Well, that's funny. So Celestial Conjuration is not only a ability from the generic rules of the Seraphon, but also on the Seraphon Star Master, Slan Star Master trait. Let me double check here real quick. Make sure the errata did not just get rid of that ability on the Slan Star Masters thing altogether. Nope, no, it didn't. So that's funny. We have the same rule that are two totally different things. I never noticed that those were named the same thing. But essentially, what happens is that the Slan Star Master forces the stars into constellations that buff the whole army across the board. So you have the Hunter Steed, which is you roll a d3 essentially, and on a 1, you get to add 1 to run and charge rolls for Seraphon units. Very good. On a 2, you get to add 1 to casting rolls for Seraphon wizards, including himself, which is also pretty good. And on a 5 and 6, you get to, a d3 roll of a 3. You get to add to, you get to reroll hit rolls of 1 for Seraphon units. Amazing. So you only get 1 of these active, but you roll random at the beginning, and for a turn, you can spend a spell to change the constellation yourself for a Slan. You have to roll a 4 up to do it. If you roll a 1, then you can't cast any more spells, but you can still turn those spells into summoning points anyway, so it's not really much of a loss as it used to be. But on a 4 up, you can pick what you want. So if you're really not going to be using a lot of spells and you get the staff, you can just change it to something you want on a 4 up. Like the additional run and charge or the reroll 1 to hit. I like the reroll 1 to hit because that's like good in every scenario ever. The Slan Star Master has Arcane Vessel. If you have Skink Heroes or a Troglodyte around, you can actually do the spells through him, but honestly, the Slans aren't going to be casting spells all that much, which is something else I would hope to see because they're amazing spellcasters with 3 spells and 3 dispels each. But their spell is awful. And Arcane Missile and Mystic Shield are not all that impressive compared to what else the army can do. So, and when I talk about his spell, Light of the Heavens, it's only good against Chaos Demons because it makes them do their Battle Shock rolls on 2 dice, discarding the lowest dice, and we as Celestial Demons get to roll 2 dice, discarding the highest. That spells, unless you're playing Chaos Demons, that spell's like not useful at all. So, because you're leadership 10, you're going to be fine leadership wise. And because of endless spells, you're like, oh well, couldn't you just put the endless spell through the Skink Hero? Now, via the errata, you cannot place the endless spell through the Skink Hero at 15-inch range. That would be awesome if you could. Essentially, the Slam would have a built-in the mirror endless spell all the time, but sadly no. His command ability is actually pretty good. Gift of the Heavens, Seraphon units within 10 inches of him can now fly and reroll save rolls for shooting attacks. Pretty dang good. But like I said, if you're not bringing a Slan Star Master as your warlord, or excuse me, as your general, then you're missing out on all those rules I just said. Plus the summoning, plus his warlord traits, which one of them lets you teleport twice. So you can teleport without a Slan. But with a Slan, you could potentially teleport twice. So it's like, well, you're literally you're reducing your army's effectiveness by half. Which is sad for when one model holds that much power. But if you look at the lore, I suppose it makes sense if the Slan is really the only one alive. Next one to talk about is Lord Croak. His page has drastically changed since his release. So, for example, big changes like his spell. He's got some pretty scary spells. His Celestial Deliverance can be cast up to 3 times. It's a cast of an 8 the first time, then a 9, then a 10. Um, and so it's pretty hefty. But each time you successfully cast it, you pick up to 3 different enemy units within 10. And on a 2+, they suffer D3 mortals. If it's a chaos demon on a 2+, they suffer just 3 mortal wounds, period. There is a way, I mean, you have the wizard staff from the regular Slan. So if you have Lord Croak and a Slan, then you could get a +1 from your spell cast there, so it's a little easier to cast that spell. The Astrolith Bear a little later also gives you a +1. So, but Lord Croak here is also 450 points, by the way. He's expensive. His other spell, Comet's Call, cast of a 7. You can only cast this one once. Pick up to D3 enemy units, or D6 if you roll a 10 or more. Each unit suffers D3 mortals. He's just a mortal machine. And keep in mind there was no range limit on Comet's Call. You could just Comet Call anyone, anywhere. And it's like, well, how many wounds does this guy have? He's considered at 7, but what you do is that he has no wounds, because he's undead. And what you do is that you track how many wounds he's taken. Then you take a Battle Shock test at the end of it. If you beat his bravery of 10, then he dies. If not, then all his wounds are healed. So I actually played Lord Croak in like a Heroes vs. Heroes game, which was hilarious at the very start of 2nd edition. It was like I want to say a 6v6. Like it was just a free-for-all of like 8 characters all at once. And I was just healing wounds. Like people would only do like 5-6 wounds against me. I'd make my Battle Shock test, and then I'd be fully healed again. Lord Croak's pretty good for being durable. And then his command ability is much different than what it used to be. Before, it would give us rerolls, which is awesome. Now it gives you command points. You roll 3 dice on each 4-up, you get an extra command point. Spend 1, potentially gain 3. Or none. I've actually gained none before. That's sad when that happens. Nowhere near as good as it used to be. Which is kind of sad. But that's what happens when things change. Lord Croak, people would say he's not as good as he used to be. I think there is one use for him with a list idea I have for him, which I'll talk about a little later. But he's just such a cool model. And keep in mind, with Lord Croak, he has 4 spells. So, and if he's your Slan General, which he can be, he's a Slan, then you're converting 4 spells potentially. So 12 points a turn plus D3 if you have that Astrolith Bear. Which is not bad. But you don't get a General's Warlord trait. You don't get the teleport twice, essentially. So it depends on what you want to do. Going to some of the more heroes, Source Old Blood on foot. What's interesting with Seraphon heroes is that they are, like, you would think that they're vicious warriors on their own, and they're really not unless they're riding some other monster. Like, his combat ability is okay, but his big buff is the fact that Wrath of the Seraphon, if he is within 5 inches of another source unit, they reroll wound rolls of 1, which is really good. Not many things allow rerolls like that. So then his command ability is also pretty good, a Paragon of Order, which lets you kind of reform a Seraphon unit within 10 inches of him. So you pick a model that stays put, and then everything else can move 3 inches around him as long as they're outside 3 inches of the enemy. So you kind of get a free move around him, which is pretty cool. A very tactical ability, not something that if you're a new player, it's like, well, how would I use that effectively? It's like, well, play a few games, you might get, like, you can get out of combat without actually having to fall back and everything else. Source Old Blood. Again, he kind of looks like this Ferocious Warrior, and it's like in his fights, I mean, he could scrap a little bit. His mace is 5 attacks, 3's a hit, 3's a wound, -1 rend, 1 damage. If he hits on a 6, it's D3 hits. If he wounds on a 6, it's D3 damage. But those are on 6s, so. And his command ability lets you pick an enemy unit within 15, and reroll failed hit rolls. Sounds really good, but when you realize that there's a unit that gives you an infinite amount of more buffs for free without command points, yeah, sorry, Source Sunblood kind of falls off the edge a little bit. Alright, talk about the Source Old Blood on Carnosaur. This was the thing I was summoning over and over again against my opponent. He's interesting. Needless to say, his damage output does this. Like, I mean, just depending on what you're rolling, you can either get just insane levels of damage or nothing at all. And I hate that. There's another version of the Carnosaur that's a little more consistent, but not by much. But, I mean, this guy's damage output's just all over the place. He does have a shooting attack compared to the other Carnosaur, which doesn't. But the thing that makes his damage go like crazy up and down is that the massive jaws of the Carnosaur hit on 4s, wound on 3s, -1 rend, 3 damage each, and there's 5 attacks at a full health Carnosaur with this thing. Pretty dang good. His command ability in a 20-inch aura lets Saurus heroes pick a weapon and add 2 to the attacks. Now keep in mind, I'm pretty sure via errata, you can only add 2 attacks to the Saurus guy himself. You cannot add to the mount. This could be right or wrong. Let me skim through the FAQ real quick since I do have it open. Let's see. That's the thingy. If Saurus Sworn Guard, Scar Veteran. No, it's not mentioned, so I think that's how it will work. It would just affect the actual dude, not the mount itself. If it affect the mount itself, that'd be pretty good. But beautiful model. I love this model. But he's expensive. He's as expensive as a regular Slan, and a Slan can summon him for free. So that, and he has no shield. One thing that you must know with Seraphon is if they have shields, that means they ignore rend of -1, unless it's a Source Sunblood, in which case his shield, minus his rend of 2 up and 1 up. So Source Sunblood doesn't have a shield, so he's just taking damage straight up, which makes him pretty flimsy at 12 wounds, 4 up save. He can die very quickly, and with how much damage he can potentially output, your opponent's going to be gunning for him and getting him off the board. Moving on, the Eternity Warden, plus the Source Guard. Okay, I love these guys. The Eternity Warden is like the hero version of a Source Guard. He can grab wounds off a Slan. Your Slan's usually in the back, not being targeted too much because there's a lot of other scarier things in for your opponent. But the ability on a 2-up to kind of grab a wound and make sure the Slan doesn't get hurt is pretty good. And he buffs Source Guard, giving him 1 additional attack with their pole arms if he's within 5. Talking about Source Guard real quick. Their pole arms, they have 2 attacks already, so 3 attacks if you're by an Eternity Warden. Hit on 3s, wounding on 3s, -1, 1 damage. Pretty dang good for a battle line unit, which is what they are. They can have up to 20 of them. They have 4 up saves. If they're by a hero, they have 3 up saves, as well as Bravery 12. They ignore -1 rend with a 3 up save. And by the way, 3 up save at Age of Sigmar is insane if you're new. That's pretty dang good. They are very expensive, though, and you only have 1 wound each. So any mortals come their way, they're going to fall over like a unit without any save at all. So they fall just the same. Since I'm talking about both of these guys, I'll just talk about the Eternal Star Host very quickly, because that battalion consists of both of these guys, and I fear that would be one that would be nerfed if we did get a new book. And I love that battalion so much. It essentially allows them, if they're by the Eternity Warden specifically, to be on a 2-up save, so they get an additional +1. So they're at 3 up from that, and then if they're by another hero, it's another +1, so they're at a 2-up save, and there's abilities to get reroll saves, both in combat and in shooting for Seraphon. So now you're talking about a unit that has 2-up rerollable saves, that ignores -1 rend. I love it. Expensive, very elite, but it is absolutely hilarious. I took that to a tournament and had I had a big blob of 20 of these guys fully buffed. And in addition, if they don't move in the previous turn or charge, then their weapon, that's on a 3 to hit, 3 to wound, -1 rend, goes from 1 damage to D3. And when you have 3 attacks each by the Eternity Warden, this guy took his Night Haunt army and pretty much all of his Night Haunt charged 1 unit of 20 of these guys. And I think he killed like 2 of them, or 3. And they just swung back and killed mostly everything. Like they almost killed the coach. They killed 2 units of the Haunt Swarm things. All of his knights were dead. I mean, it was just a massacre. It was insane. And he was like, he was shocked. He was like, I can't believe it. I'm like, well, you charged a fully buffed Source Guard unit. What did you think was going to happen? But, yeah, I think he thought he could make it. But no, you can't. Swinging back to heroes, you have the Source Scar Veteran. This is the guy with the shield, so he's a little bit more durable than the other guy with the Carnosaur. He doesn't have a shooting attack, and his damage is much more consistent. This Carnosaur's bites hit on 3s, wound on 3s, -1, D3 damage instead of 3 damage. So, just depends on what you want to do. He's a little cheaper. So, more durable, cheaper, but less damage output. So, what are you looking for in a Carnosaur? What do you want him to do? There are relics like with the the Old Blood on the Carnosaur. I like to give him the Ragged Cloak from the Death Realm. So that way, if my opponent does choose to kind of shoot him down, I teleport him forward, make him very scary and everything. My opponent wants to kill him, and I can just say, nope, you can't target him this turn. You can't target him for attacks. You can't target him for shooting. That pretty much allows me to get in there the turn after and actually be able to fight with him and make him useful. So that is one way to make him work. Other command ability of the Scar Vet is that he can target a Source unit within 15. If they hit on a 6, they get additional attack. Cool. It's a good one. There's a lot of good weapons in this army that would benefit from that. Then you have a Scar Vet on a cold one, which is the little raptor guy. He's pretty good. I mean, he buffs the other raptors, the other cold ones. So if you're bringing a lot of cold ones, you're going to want to bring him. He's also a very cheap, nice kind of melee-focused hero. His pick attacks, he has 3 of them, hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s, -1, 1 damage. After you've made an attack, if you roll a 4, then you can attack again. If you roll then again, after that, you roll a 6, you can attack a 3rd time. So it's going to happen all the time now, but it'll happen sometimes. And his command ability affects the other cold ones, including himself. If you use the ability, then you can reroll charge rolls and hit rolls for 1 of 1. So charge rolls and hit rolls of 1 for Source units within 8 of him, which includes himself. In addition, the Source Knights with their cold ones get more bite attacks. So it's good. It's fine. And you have the Warriors, pretty much like the Guard, except they're not as elite. You can have massive blobs of these guys, but they are pretty flimsy. I mean, 1 wound, 5 up save. They do have the shield, but they die pretty quickly, and their damage output isn't stellar. You could put them in a battalion that makes them pretty scary, and we'll talk about that now since we're past everything that you would need to do that. That would be a Source Sunblood and 3 units of Source Warriors. They get an additional attack with their bites, and their armed weapons are -1 rend rather than none, and will have damage 2 against Chaos Demons instead of 1. So it's a nice buff. I've seen a lot of people take it. It's a nice little chunk that you can bring of an army and let you do a lot of the objective holding you want to do. But there are better, if you're going competitive, there are better battle line units. The Astrolith Bear, okay. So I talked about the Slan being necessary. The Astrolith Bearer is like the second guy you need to add to your list. Never leave home without one, because his banner has done a lot of changes since the release in the book. So, going to the errata here very quickly. Astrolith Bear. So, for his Celestial Conduit ability, you add 1 to casting rolls for friendly wizard units that are within 12 of him. Awesome. Helps Lord Croak out a lot. In addition, add 8 inches to the range of any spells that the wizards cast that are within 12. So you're adding 1 and adding range. Plus, if you roll a 10 or more, then you're adding 14 inches to a spell's range. Pretty good. Sad part is, though, that this does not buff endless spells, because the endless spells, they don't have range. They are placed within a certain range, and this apparently does not buff that. So that's sad. Excuse me. The next part, the Proud Defiance, this part's hilarious because it used to be you have to plant this enormous banner in order to get the benefit of this, which meant that you couldn't move and everything else. You couldn't charge afterwards, but now that wording is gone, so this guy can just walk around no problem with this buff up. And so what this buff is that you can reroll hit rolls for friendly Seraphon units that are wholly within 12 inches of him. Yes, please. Just reroll hit rolls. So that's what kind of makes the Sunblood go cry in a corner somewhere. It's just not very good when he has to spend a command point to do that against one unit. When you can have this guy, and you can have your whole army huddled around him, and he's just given the same buff against any target. So, yeah, Astrolith Bear is really good. He's only 160 points in a competitive game, by the way. He's insane. For the amount of points he is, he's insane. Don't leave home without one. Source Knights. These are the cool ones I was talking about earlier. Talk about a glass hammer. I wish they were more durable. They're only a 5-up save. I wish they were 4-up. But they're essentially warriors on cold ones, so they move faster. They have a few bite attacks from the cold ones. They have a cool ability called Blazing Lances that if you ruined on a 6, it does it immortal. But keep in mind that with those, you have to have lances to do that, and the lances are hidden on 4s, winning on 3s, with only 1 attack each, 2 from the leader, so you're not going to get a lot of 6s, even with a massive squad. So you really need the Scarvet on a cold one to buff them up enough to keep everything okay. But honestly, like, you get them in the start collecting box. That's why I have a few models, sadly. I wish they were better. That gives us a chance to talk about the next battalion, since we've talked about the units already. The Fireland Star Host. This is one that's necessary for a funny little combo I have with Lord Croak. So I'll talk about that battalion in this one. So this one is the Scarvet on Cold Blood, or our Scarvet, our Connoisseur, plus the Knights. And they get Blazy Cohort, which is when they do their 6 to hit, they cause a mortal wound in addition to any that they do. So if you have the lances, then you're potentially doing 2 mortal wounds plus the damage that it normally does. Nice. And if the Knights are around, the Scarvet add 3 to the result of their run and charge rolls. So you could potentially have a 4+ to their run and charge if you have the other constellation up. And they're near the Scar Veteran by 10 inches. It's a nice one, but the only reason that I would suggest you take this is because there is a other battalion called the Dracothian Tail. This one's so cool. This one lets you must have a Slan Star Master and a Fireland Star Host. And then you can have any combination of other battalions, war scrolls, and any number of Seraphon units. But the cool ability with this one is it appear at Totek's command, which lets you pick 1 unit type per turn to teleport down from the spaceship, wholly within 18 of the Slan, and 9 away from the enemy. And what I like to do with this one is put Croak in this. Have the Slan be kind of our summoning Slan, and Croak just teleports forward with an Astrolith Bear and probably like another wizard of some kind to give him some buffs. But the whole idea is that you're getting Lord Croak in range to do his spells because his spells are only 10-inch range, or at least the Celestial Deliverance one is. And you could maybe have some endless spells like the Mortal Wound Causers, like the Pendulum and stuff that Croak can cast. But it's pretty funny to put him in there in its spaceship and he teleports down, and your opponent's like, uh-oh, he's right in front of me. He's going to kill me. Which is fun. Is it the most competitive thing? Not so much. I mean, you get the one drop battalion, which is nice. Moving on. Need to get a drink of water or something after this. So now we're going to get to the skink part of the army, and this is kind of where competitiveness goes through the roof. Most competitive lists fall for the skinks. This first skink, however, is not one of them. The Skink Starseer, oh, I used to love this model. Well, I still love the model. I used to love his rules. Now I hate his rules. He's the one on a big stone chair. Not the slans, but he's a little skink that sits in a chair. He's 200 points, and he's like, whoa, why is he so expensive? Well, he used to have a rule that was super cool. It was just an ability. It wasn't a command ability or anything. You would, in your hero phase, you would attempt to scry the future. I guess I'll just read the rule. Both you and your opponent secretly place a dice and show any number. Then you reveal them. You gain as many insights as a number on your dice. However, if your opponent's dice shows the same number, the Starseer misreads the portents that you are revealed, and your opponent gains the insights instead. Each insight can be used to reroll any single dice before your next hero phase. So, the idea was, say, you secretly hit a 5. If your opponent gets to 5, they would get 5 rerolls of anything. If you guessed a 5 and they guessed something else, you would get them. By the way, these rerolls could have been used for anything, including your opponent's dice. Was something that GW said immediately because someone asked, well, can you use it against the opponent's dice? Because it says single dice roll. It's not any of your dice rolls. It just says any single. And GW's like, yeah, any dice roll. So it's like, oh, you need to roll a 1 to make sure your last guy did not run away. How about you re-roll that? Oh, it was so good. Broken, but it was so good. And the mechanic was fun. The whole gambling of what number am I going to put down? What am I going to do? And the bonus was just so much that it wasn't a waste of time for your opponent to really try and figure out what dice did you put down. You know, like it was like, man, I could get like awesome rerolls for this. And I wanted to keep my opponent from getting that. So I mean, it was a really cool mini game. It really was. And then they took it away because now it's on a 2-up. That ability on a 2-up, you get a command point. On a 1, you give your opponent a command point. It's just not the same. The mini game's gone. Command points in the Seraphon army are actually not that important. Because everything else is in your normal abilities and spells. Makes me sad. And he hasn't received a points drop because of this change. Like, he is not worth 200 points. I mean, he has a pretty good spell, Curse of Fates, on a 4. Pick a unit within 20. You can increase or decrease a single die roll for that unit for every phase until the next turn. Really good spell. Really good. The only problem is, like, well, wouldn't it be 200 points just to bring that spell? It's like, maybe, if it wasn't for the fact that a Slan general trait can give the Slan that spell. And then it's like, oh, well, if I really want that spell, I'll just put that on my Slan and we're all good. Sorry, Skink Starseer. I have one painted up. You look beautiful. Maybe someday you'll be changed and actually be worthwhile again. Skink Star Priest. This is the small skink spellcaster. He is the exact opposite of Starseer in that he is really good. He has a staff. He points at a unit within 8. Whenever they attack with their bites, they, on a wound roll of a 6, do double damage. Pretty good. One person was saying that Ripperdactyls don't get this. I believe that's in the FAQ. Oh, wait. No. I don't know. We'll get back to that point. But pretty good. Double damage on a 6. Yes, please, especially on a current sword. Like, imagine getting that off on the Sword of Soul Bloods Carnosaur with his 3 damage bites. Now all of a sudden those were 6 damage bites. Ugh. He also has Summon Starlight, which is probably one of the best spells that we have access to. 20-inch range, casting value of 6. Pick a Seraphon unit. You can subtract hit rolls for any attacks that target it, so you can either buff a unit to be -1. You can also target an enemy unit and debuff them to be -1 to hit with all their weapons. And if it happens to be that they happen to be Chaos Demons, you do D3 mortal wounds to them. Pretty good. Then you have the Troglodon. This is the skink guy on the Spinosaur, essentially. It's an interesting unit. I found that bringing him points-wise is almost a waste of time. I like summoning him because he's probably the biggest monster that's the cheapest to summon. All of his attacks, except for the skink himself, but the monster, does 2 damage to swing, but he has no rend. And this is a guy that you definitely want like a Astrolith around because his bites are hitting on 4s, but if he's at full health, potentially wounding on 2s because they're venomous. So you really want to have him reroll those 6 attacks to hit to make sure that they're all hitting. He can dispel a spell just like normal. However, you're going to be bringing a Slan 99% of the time with 3 dispels already. Most armies I face, even that are quote-unquote heavy spellcaster, the Slan can dispel all of them on his own. So having yet another dispel from the Troglodon is not very necessary. Especially when you're probably taking a Skink Star Priest, and he has a dispel of his own, so it's just cool to have. And the Troglodon does have a ranged attack with a spit, and I love the rule for this. Drawn to the screams. When you spit and you cause damage to the unit and they scream in agony because it's poison, the Troglodon is blind, right? So he's able to hear the screams and he hones in on them. And you add 3 inches to the charge range for him, which is as long as you end within half of the screaming unit, which is awesome. I love the lore and the visual of that. Oh, just one final note. The Troglodon can -1 bravery for enemy units within 8. Cool. Skink Priest. This guy, if you're going to do the 2-up armor save for the Source Guard, Skink Priest is almost completely necessary. Because he has the Celestial Rites ability that on a 4-up, a affected unit can reroll run rolls, charge rolls, and save rolls. That's all saves. Not just saves in shooting, not just saves in combat, all saves. And the Celestial Rites ability itself only targets 1 unit, but if you have Priestly Trappings, which is a kind of a war gear option, then it affects everyone within 8. It's not wholly within 8, it's just within 8. So, which is amazing. So I bring almost always 2 Skink Priests, so I'm going to do my Temple Guard list, so that way I get 2 chances to roll that 4-up, and then all of a sudden now my 2-up save is now a 2-up rerollable save. And it's like, yeah, I'm never dying unless you bring a ton of mortal wounds. And finally, we're going to get to the apparent competitive powerhouse of the Seraphon, which are the Skinks. Very, very fragile unit. 1 wound each, 6-up save, bravery 10. They move 8, so they're fast. They are not very punchy. They can have like javelins or bolt spitters. But you're hitting on 5s and wounding on 4s or 5s, respectively, 1 damage each, and their melee is atrocious. But that's why they have wary fighters. Instead of fighting in a fight phase, you can actually just move 8 and make sure you're more than 3 inches from the enemy. These are the most annoying units in the game. They are battle line, and you can just run them around everywhere. Shooting, getting a little bit of damage here and there. But if anyone tries to charge them, and usually charges happen where there's a couple, and your opponent might really want to fight your big hero first to make sure they don't get eaten. But then that gives you the opportunity to activate the Skinks next, and the Skinks just run away. And you get pretty much a free movement of 8 inches thanks to your opponent. and that lets you read position to get objectives. These guys can teleport to get objectives. I mean, these guys are just insanely good. Yeah, they just fall over and die, but honestly, there's a lot of other things in the Seraphon list that are way too scary that often your opponent will just ignore them, take care of the scary things, but at that point they've lost the game already because the skinks have run around the board, gotten all the objectives, and won the game for you, um, which is their whole point. Chameleon skinks. I don't have any of these guys. I've never played with them. They look awful model-wise, I must say. Lore-wise, I thought it'd be funny. I mean, there'd be no way to be able to paint this, but lore-wise, I was thinking that my army, there'd be 0 chameleon skinks because they're not effective at all in the army. Because when my slammer creates them as the colorblind monochromatic creatures that they are, when the chameleon skinks attempt to meld in, the visual that they create on their skin is the same that's behind them, but it's black and white. So it's like looking through a black and white TV or a black and white filter of a video camera. And so everyone that's like looking through the forest and they see just these weird silhouetted black and white figures coming at them that like looks just through the trees behind them, but they're like, what is that? I don't know, just shoot it. And that's why there's no chameleon skinks in my army. They're like even more annoying regular skinks because they can teleport everywhere. They don't have worry fighters though, so they can't get bogged down and just murdered. So that's why I think regular skinks are better. But their save goes to a 3-up in terrain as opposed to a 6, so they're much more durable in terrain. They have better blow darts. They can disappear and reappear, teleporting on their own everywhere. And it is, I believe, one benefit they do have is that they don't have a 9-inch requirement to stay away from the enemy. I'm double checking the FAQ parts here. Yeah, nope. It just says they can be set up anywhere, so they can show up 3 inches away from the enemy, so they're right on top of an objective to try and steal it. So that's a good use for them. But again, they're pretty flimsy, and they're much smaller unit-wise. So Salamander is one of the artillery units of the Seraphon. These are fire spitters, and you can tell from their attack stream of fire is the missile weapon. 1 attack, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, minus 2 rend, d6 damage. And they have the It Burns ability, so if you suffer damage from this thing, you roll 4 up at the end of the shooting phase. They suffer d3 mortal wounds if you get the 4 up. So, yeah, these things are... Just talk about their brother real quick. Razordons! So while the Salamander can really hurt big things, the Razordon's like against the skink equivalent. The thing with very little to no armor save, and there's a ton of them. Is at 12-inch range, 2d6 attacks, 3 to hit, 4 to wound, 1 damage. Potentially has an Overwatch ability, so if they get charged on a 4-up, they can fire that weapon again. Pretty good against shooting. And they are apart, these two, Salamanders and Razordons, are one of the things you need for a battalion. That's probably the most powerful battalion in the book. So you're probably going to pick up 1, maybe more. They're also cheap to summon and not bad, so picking up more is never bad. I guess I just realized that you could get the book for the battalions, but you could probably find them online somewhere. I just don't want you to spend money and not need the book. Skink Handlers is the next unit entry. They're buffers for the Razordon and Salamander. The Salamander and Razordon have buffs in their roll scrolls if they're next to Skink Handlers, and Skink Handlers have a little bit of a buff for themselves. They hit on a 6, they automatically wound, but honestly, they're 1 attack each, hitting on 5, wounding on 5, 1 damage. Whoop-de-doo. No. Just summon Razordons and Salamanders on their own. You don't need Skink Handlers. Croxigor. Some of the coolest units ever. Actually, I recently they're fine cast. You need to get them from GW, but I recently got the unit and I was kind of nervous that how they turn out. They're actually pretty dang gorgeous. I was actually really impressed by the detail on the fine cast model. So it's not bad. And maybe I got lucky, but I know fine cast. I've had many years with GW, and that fine cast has been terrible. But in this case, and there's a lot of fine cast in this army with a lot of the hero models. I have not been disappointed with any of them. They've been really high quality and everything else. So, yeah. Croxagore are the other option, along with the Razor Dons in a certain battalion we'll talk about in a little bit. Um, but they're giant crocodile men with big hammers and mauls that do quite a bit of damage. 2 damage on the mauls, 4 attacks for the 2 that have the mauls, 4 to hit, 3 to wound. One has a moon hammer that attacks once for every model within its range. And its range is 2. So if you're against a big horde, you can. You're doing the Sauron at the beginning of Lord of the Rings Return or Fellowship of the Ring. Just swinging through units. 4 hit, 3 wound, -1 red on the hammer, 2 damage. So, yeah, very good. If you're next to Skinks, you can reroll rune rolls of 1 if you're within 3 inches of any skink. That's keyword skink. So there's a lot of things that have skink keyword, and that's a nice buff for Croxagore. And I forgot about that last time I played some Croxagore. I don't know if that would have came into play, but that's a big buff to forget, so don't forget that. So then that's the Moonhammer description. Then they have bite attacks, which have jaws like a steel trap. 1 attack from each wound, 4 to hit, 3 to wound, -1 red, 1 damage. But the cool part is if you do a wound roll of a 6 or higher, so it's rare, the Croxagore clamps down its massive teeth around its victim and shakes it back and forth. Both you and your opponent roll a dice. If you score higher, your opponent does not take a save roll. Instead, the target suffers a number of mortal wounds equal to the difference between the 2 dice rolls. Otherwise, the victim slips free, and the attack causes no damage. So that's hilarious. I love that interaction. Is it going to happen a lot? No, but it's going to be great when it does. And you're like, oh, roll off. Here we go. Do I eat you or do you live? Now to the pride and joy of every Seraphon army, the Bastiladon. The single most powerful unit in our book. Aside from the practically infinite potential of the Slan Star Master and one other unit potentially. But Bastiladons are up there. They're the Ankylosaur. They have 8 wounds, 5 movement, 3 save, 3 up save. You heard me right. 10 wound, 10 bravery, so to say. And you have different weapon options, but you're gonna put the solar engine on there, which is the laser beam. Firing my laser. This sucker is a 10-inch range, or 20-inch range. 2d6 attacks, 4 hit, 3 wound, -1 rend, 2 damage. Oh, 2 damage. Bastiladons can do insane damage output. And keep in mind, yes, it's 4 to hit, but you have Astrolith Bearers, so you can reroll that a lot of the times. The Skink Riders throw some javelins, but the Bastiladon is not a slouch in combat. It's got the tail, 3 attacks, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, -1 d3 damage. That's not something that your opponent can just kind of be like, oh yeah, I'll fight that, I'll be fine. It's like, no. The Bastiladon, if you're not killing the Bastiladon, the Bastiladon will kill you. But the thing is, the Bastiladon is probably the tankiest unit of all of Age of Sigmar. Because it ignores all rend. It is always taking its 3-up save. And if it's taking any mortals, it has a 4-up save against mortals. This thing is insane. It gets even better. If you're fighting Chaos Demons, if you shoot a Chaos Demon with the laser beam, its damage is 3 instead of 2. Oh my god, I've cleared out whole squads with 1 shot. Its other weapon is the Tide of Snakes. It's not as effective. You pick up to 6 units within 8 inches, giving them each a number 1 through 6. You roll 12 dice to see whether the snakes go. Each enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound for each roll that matches the number on its dice. So, keep in mind you can't just, it's one number per unit, so you can't go, okay, if I only got 2 units in range, that unit is 1 through 6, and that unit is 7 through 12 or something. You can't do that. So you want, or excuse me, that unit is 1 through 3, and this unit is 4 through 6. You can't do that. You have to do one. So if you don't have 6 units around you, then the Tide of Snakes is like wasting its potential. And you're only doing 1 mortal wound per roll. And you're only rolling the 12 dice once. So at the best case scenario, you're doing 2 mortal wounds to everything. I mean, you're doing 12 mortal wounds to the whole army, but it's not concentrated. So the light of the heavens, the solar engine is just so much better than Tide of Snakes. Don't put the Tide of Snakes on there. It looks cool, but it's just not good. Pterodon riders. These are the pterodactyls that have little rocks on their legs. They're all right. They have a little bit of a. They're more ranged. They got a little bit of a close combat attack. You can either, as a ranged attack, have javelins or bolas. If you're doing bolas, then you're hit with a 5-inch range. If you score a hit, roll a dice, and every time you hit with a bola, you roll a dice and make that many hit rolls. That many wound rolls. So pretty much every one hit is D6 hits. It's pretty good. Once per game, they can drop their rocks, and when you do, if you've moved over something, you roll the dice. On a 4 or more, the enemy struck suffers a D3 mortals per model, right? Yep. You roll for every one of this. So you could do a lot of damage, but it's once per game. So very not consistent. You have the skink riders on top, and you have the beaks. So the beaks are 4 attacks, 4s and 4s, 1 damage. Not bad. And then you have the skinks themselves. Or is that just the... No, that's just the leader. So that's all you're going to get for close combat attacks. So 14-inch movement, 5 up save, 3 wounds, 10 bravery. They're alright, but compared to the other flying unit, the other pterodactyl unit, these guys just pale in comparison. Now we're talking about the ripperdactyl unit. So I guess these guys would be number 4. Well, okay, number 5. Skinks are number 4. Regular old skinks. If I was just to quickly arbitrate numbers. 14-inch move, like the same thing I said before. 3 wounds, 5 up save, 10 wounds. These guys do have the shields, and so remember what I said. If you have a shield, you're ignoring -1 rend unless you're a Sunblood and you're special. So they're ignoring -1 rend. They have a rule called Swooping Dive, which is kind of a really funny rule. I'll read it verbatim for you right now so that way you kind of understand it. At the end of your movement phase, you can declare that this unit will swoop down to attack the foe at close quarters. If you do so, then in the following combat phase, you can reroll failed hit and wound rolls for this unit as an enemy reels from the sudden assault. Until your next hero phase, measure range and visibility for models in this unit as though they were on the ground. What sort of the benefit of just rerolling hits and wounds for just saying you're doing it with the cost of, oh, now I'm on the ground. What's the big deal? I mean, yeah, this was written a while ago. It was one of the first, but it's honestly, it's like, GW, what is this? What is this? So pretty much you're always swooping because there is no negative to being measured on the ground. You're measuring to the base anyway. Yeah, and in fact, that's probably even better because now you're drawing line of sight, not from the model that's way up here, but now they're supposedly down there. So it's even more of a buff. So yeah, do that. Then they have Ferocious Appetite. They have beak attacks. Now, was this benefit from the Skink Star Priest staff ability to make bites do additional damage? As I understand, it doesn't because a beak is different than a bite. I think that's a little silly, but I suppose that's how the English language works. But every time you attack with the beak, this is something that has been errated. If you roll a hit roll for an attack with the beak, then roll that attack inflicts D3 hits on the target instead of 1. Make wound and save rolls for each hit. So it can do a lot of hits. But now we get to the best rule. This is the best rule in the army. Because when you get this box, you get a little tiny base. Like that big. And you can put a little toad on it. And Riperdactyls, they hate the toad. Whenever they see it, whenever they get close to it, within 2 inches of the toad, they make 3 attacks instead of the normal 1 with their beaks. And those are the beaks that do D3 additional hits. This is amazing. How do you get the toad? Well, you have to bring the Riperdactyls in your army. If you summon the Riperdactyls, you cannot generate a toad. Because the toad has to be placed in the very first hero phase. And you just plop it down. It's not a unit. It doesn't have a stat line or anything. It's just like a token. It does move around. Every turn it can move d6 inches. And you just place it by the enemy unit that you want to kill. And then the Riperdactyls can swoop in and eat them alive. To talk about quickly the battalion that these guys come in, the Shadow Strike Star Host, and we finally covered all of them, is either a Star Priest or a Priest, Skink, by the way, 2 units of Skinks or Community Skinks, or 1 unit of Riperdactyls. And the benefits this gives are pretty insane. After setup is complete, you can roll 2 dice for each unit in the Shadow Strike force, and move all of its units up to that many inches. This does not force you to stay in your territory. You can deploy, your Skinks are there, and you roll 2 dice to move, and they run towards the objective, and that's before even movement happens, so then you can move even more and get to those objectives before your opponent can, which makes them do their job even better. You have the Trappist Sprung in your hero phase. Pick a unit that is visible to the Star Host Skink Priest or Star Priest. Till the next hero phase, you can reroll hit and wound rolls of 1 for units from the Star Host that attack that unit. So if you have a really advantageous position, you can make something. You can make your Skinks shoot at it more because you're going to use Riperdactyls, honestly, in this Star Host, and they're going to be swooping all the time anyway. But finally, this is the big part. This is what makes them insane. Strike from the skies. Instead of setting up the flying unit from a battalion in the battlefield, which is going to be the Riperdactyls or Pterodons, you can place it to one side and say that it's hidden amid the clouds. In any of your movement phase, the unit can plummet from the skies to assail the foe. When it does so, you can set it up anywhere 3 inches from the enemy. In the following combat phase, add 1 to the result of any wound rolls made for the models of this unit. Yeah. 3 inches away. And by the way, this is in any of your movement phases. It does not say at the end of your movement phase. It does not say that this is considered your movement. So you place them and move. And guess what? This has not been errated away from us. This is still here, as it says in the book. And because you're bringing a unit, you can summon the toad, so you can bring the toad, put it next to the unit you want to kill. The Riperdactyls come down 3 inches away. They charge in. They're getting extra attacks. They're getting +1 to wound. They're re-rolling their hits and wounds anyway because you're going to say they're swooping. Yes. So good. That's not even the best battalion yet. We're almost done. We got 2 more units to talk about. And then 1 battalion. And then we're done. Next unit is the Stegodon. I need a Stegodon model. I have the other version of the Stegodon. There's 2 versions. But I have the other version, not the war version. The war version is pretty cool. There's Skink Javelins on there. We've talked about those. It's 10 wounds on this guy, 4 up save, 10 bravery, no shield, sadly. But you can have either a Sky Streak bow or a Sunfire Throwers. The bow is 25-inch range, 3 attacks, 4 to hit, 3 to wound, -1 d3 damage. So I mean it's a big chunk. It'll do some damage, but the sunflower flowers are 8-inch range. Special ability on the attack number: 3 to hit, 3 to wound, 1 damage. If you're wondering what that means, well, the sunflower flowers attack you when you select a unit. You make one attack against it for each of its models within range. So if you're up in close combat, you're getting close to the enemy unit, you just count every model within 8-inch range and do that many attacks. So if you're facing against a big horde of something, those flamethrowers are really good. And this thing also has the most rend of the whole book because it has massive horns, which are 3 attacks. Its melee weapons, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, 2 damage. At full health, a Stegodon has -3 rend. -3. That's ignoring pretty much all armor 70% of the time. Pretty much most armor things are like the Stormcast Eternals, and they have 4-up saves. So you're getting past that. A couple of the heroes will be 3-up saves, so they get their 6-ups. I mean, oof. And the Stegodon also has a lot of stomps, which are 3d6 attacks, 1 damage, 4 to hit, 3 to wound. So again, anti-horde. So you can really specialize the Stegodon to be anti-horde and do a ton of damage with them. The only sad part is that how hard it is to get these models. They're often out of sale, which sucks. They help with the leadership of skinks around them, which is nice. There's a skink alpha on top. So in your hero phase, the alpha can give orders to skink units within 8. If that unit is not within 3 inches of the enemy unit, it can immediately roll a dice and move each of its models up to that many inches. In addition, until your next hero phase, you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for that unit. So it gives you extra, again, mobility for the skink units to get them wherever you want. Best objective holders in the game. Finally, for unit-wise, before we talk about the last battalion, the Engine of the Gods. Probably the next to Lord Croak, the most edited, changed war scroll in our book. So, a few things. It is a Stegodon, so it's got a lot of the same things. There's some skinks on top of the javelins. There's no ranged weapon. There are sharpened horns with 4 attacks now. 3 hit, 3 to wound, -1, 2 damage. Not bad. The crushing stomps again. Again, similar to the Stegodon, if you charge, then you get, where is it? I think it's +1 to the wound if you charge. The normal Stegodon has that too. Yep, add 1 to any wound rolls if charged in the same turn. The big part is that the Engine of the Gods has this device on it called the Cosmic Engine. And you roll 3 dice at top tier, fully healthy. If there's a slan within 10, then you roll 4 dice, getting rid of 1, and depending on the number you roll, you get certain effects. Now, some of these effects are still the same from the book, but many are quite different. The first one, if you roll 1 to 2, you suffer D3 mortals. Keep in mind that on 3 dice, it's impossible to roll a 1 or a 2, so you should be good the majority of the time. It gets scary when you get hurt. Because then you roll less dice the more hurt you are. And you still discard, by the way. It's not like you can stay at 3 if you have a slan nearby. It's like, no, you roll the extra dice and you discard it. And so it just helps you get better options. 3 to 5, you heal a Seraphon unit within 3 by T3 wounds. Normally it's going to be itself. 6 to 9 is you pick an enemy unit within 25. It suffers D6 mortal wounds. Keep in mind you don't need to have a line of sight for this thing. It just says you pick an enemy unit within 25. And D6 mortals. I like that option a lot. The next one I don't like so much. The 10 to 13, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 10. If the result is 4 or higher, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Phew! Sorry. Yeah, that's a lot worse than 6 to 9. Yeah, you could potentially hit a lot of units, but you'd have to be really close, 10 inches away or closer. And you then have to roll another dice to be a 4-up, so you have a 50% chance of even hitting the thing. 17 to 14. This one was changed drastically in the FAQ. 14 to 17 is you can summon one unit from the list below. The summoned unit must be wholly within 12 of the Engine of the Gods and 9 from the enemy. And the units you can summon are either 20 Skinks, 10 Saurus Warriors, 3 Ripperdactyls, or 3 Pterodons. Ooh. I love summoning the Ripperdactyls because those things are stupid on their own. It's wonderful. And then finally, the 18 roll. When you roll the 666, the dream. It's a dream. I have not seen it yet. I will see it eventually. But it's amazing. It used to be broken. It's still very powerful. But I'll tell you the version it is now, and then we'll talk real quick about the version it used to be. On the 18, time crawls to a halt. For the rest of the turn, double the move of all friendly Seraphon and double the attacks of all weapons used by friendly Seraphon models. All weapons. Oh, yes. 10 Carnosaur bites. Infinite Ripperdactyl attacks. I mean, the list goes on. 28-inch movement Ripperdactyls. The 666 exists. It's out there. It will happen eventually. And you might be thinking, oh my god, that was so powerful. What was it before? Oh my god, before. Time crawls all around the army. After this turn, you can immediately take another. If you roll the result the second time, this is the 14-17. It used to, when you roll the 666, give you a whole other turn. A turn! An extra hero phase, an extra movement phase, an extra shooting, an extra assault and charge. Yeah. That had to be nerfed. Imagine this scenario. Your opponent goes first. You go second. You roll the 666. You get the extra turn. So you've gotten 2 turns in a row. You then roll for initiative. And you win. 3 turns in a row. Shoot, the double free turn is probably enough to win the game. I mean, often when you get the double turn, sometimes you won already. But a triple turn, what's your opponent going to do? Nothing. You get the triple turn, it's over. It's over. Just stop playing. Just go home. But I have not seen the 666 yet. I mean, Engine of the Gods is a wonderful unit. And now that we finally got to that point, we can talk about the last battalion. The Thunderquake Star Host, which is 1 Engine of the Gods or Troglodon. You're going to do the Engine of the Gods. 2 units of any combination, a Stegodon or Bastillodon. You're going to do Bastillodons. And either 1 unit of Croxagore or 1 unit of Skink Handlers and 1 unit of Razordons or Salamanders. So keep in mind, if you're going to do the Razordon Salamander, you have to take the Skink Handler. I did not realize that was a thing. I'm going to have to go back and edit a list. Usually I would bring Croxagore, but I was trying to be cheap. So what's so cool about this one? I mean, keep in mind, it's got like 2 of the most powerful War Scrolls in there with the Engine of the Gods and the Bastillodons. But you have the Creator's Will. The Engine of the Gods and any units from the Thunderquake Star Host within 8 are guided by the will of their Creator. Start of every combat phase, you can declare if a unit will either be swift or if it'll be savage. And did they do a rewording of this? Yes, they did. So sorry, I was reading from the book. I'll read from the FAQ. At the start of your charge phase, you declare that all units there will be swift until your next charge phase, in which case you can reroll charge rolls for those units and hit rolls for attacks made by those units. You instead declare that all of those units will be savage until your next charge phase, in which case you can reroll wound rolls for those units and save rolls for attacks that target those units. You're going to be savage. Because guess what? You can have the Astrolith Bearer, so you're getting your rerolls to hit anyway. And now you have Bastillodons that are rerolling to hit, rerolling to wound, with force to hit, 3s to wound, -1 rend, 2 damage weapons that reroll their saves. Which is a 3-up that ignores all rend. Yeah? Why wouldn't you do that? And then keep in mind, you do have to be within 8 of the Engine of the Gods to do that. but you're going to be within 12 of the Astroth Bear anyway, so you're going to be huddled up close together anyway. But you're going to want that buff for sure. If that wasn't bad enough, in your hero phase, each model from the Thunderquake Starhost heals wounds. If you are by your Slan, you heal D3. If you're 10 inches within your Slan, you heal D3 wounds instead of just 1. Oh my. Plus, if you can roll the healing potential on the Age of the Gods to heal even more. I mean, this is pretty much the tank option of the Seraphon units. This is the option that it's like these things are unkillable. The Celadons are hard to kill already. Add this on top of it, and it's like, yeah, good luck. It's like the Liam Neeson movie, Take It. Good luck. It's mean. But then the outsider there is you need a Razordon with the Skink Handlers or a Croxagore. So, and the Croxagore units are pretty good, but if you want cheap, you have to go with the Skink Handler and the Salamander. So, that's my quick rundown of every unit currently with FAQ, recent FAQ, for the Seraphon. We'll see if we get new books and this video becomes moot. But this is an army that I think rather wants an update, so that way we can not have to look at 3 different sources for all the rules, and just have everything consolidated, which would be nice. And kind of get the updated rules of having our own spell lore, which I think really hurts us because right now there's just 0 point in spell casting because the Slan just does not have spells worth casting unless you take a Warlord trait to get the skink ones. And so I think that would be just nice. We'll see if we get a new one recently. The release of the Flesh of Your Corpse ones makes that possible. So, but we'll see. So, hope you enjoyed just listening, or at least watching the pretty slideshow go by and listening while I talked about Seraphon for goodness knows like an hour long. So, hope you're having all a great day. Might bring some more Seraphon or Age of Sigmar videos here shortly. Hope you enjoyed, and this is Jesse signing off.